Hi, everybody. I'm Patrick Varano. I'm the host of the podcast Learning from Leaders, and also I am the CEO of Emory Leadership Group. And on today's episode, I brought on Lisa Danforth as a guest. She is a business strategist and coach, and she's also certified in the one thing as a facilitator. And that really was going to be our conversation today around goal setting. And I love
Mhm.
this model. Lisa, I know you and I have had an opportunity to talk about it. And I think in the environment that we're in right now, where so many people are maybe questioning what they want to do, where they want to go, I thought this would be a great opportunity to really talk about the model that you're so comfortable with. And you've helped me actually be able to implement it myself in my own business.
Fabulous. I love hearing that. Yeah, the model is phenomenal and it is simple, which I think is what is so beneficial about it. But it also can trip people up because they're like, it can't be this simple, right?
Yeah.
But the people who have implemented consistently have experienced amazing results.
Yeah. I'd be curious you're certified in it now as a facilitator. What prompted you to take it to that level?
Oh, excellent question. It's interesting is I had been hearing about the book for quite a while. I'm a voracious reader, and I sort of kept putting it on the back burner. A friend actually bought me the book, and I sat down and read it, and it was so clear and simple. And was a component that I was strong in within my business, that planning, that real strategic, but I knew becoming a facilitator, I would be able to double down and bring more to my clients and have them experience more results, impact, and income. So going through the process of learning, and we'll talk about this in a little bit, the 411, which is the annual planning, the GPS, simplifies things. And as Gary Keller says, who is one of the authors, Gary Keller and Jay Papasan, he says, success is sequential, it's not simultaneous. And I found so many business owners that I work with and talk with, including myself in my earlier years as an entrepreneur, trying to do everything at once. And then when I finally get to that level of success, I can finally relax. But new level, new devil type of thing, right? So being able to implement a plan so you know what you're focusing on and why, it simplifies things and allows you to minimize distractions and focus on priorities. And what is not one of your top priorities gets put into the parking lot. So it's not distracting you.
Yeah, I'm not one of those people. I'm the shiny penny individual. So in looking at this, it really was nice to see this structure of how do you put this together. And I look at it even from the standpoint of as I started going through the model, even that the 1 year goal or
Mhm.
the someday goals, right? Of how do you even start to put together there? It can be so overwhelming in terms of people thinking like, what do I want? What
Mhm.
are some of the things that you would recommend for people as they start this, right? You're looking at what do I want to do? What are my long-term goals to help them flush that out?
Another really great question. What I find, especially with adult people, right? Not the 20 or 30-year-olds necessarily, is we've experienced life. We've often gotten married. We have children. We have actually disconnected from our longer term vision that we've always wanted because life gets in the way. So, one of the tips that I tell, I mean, you'll hear me talk about pause in anything that I do. It is so important to be intentional in the goals that you're setting, especially in today's day and age. What I find, people get tripped up. Excuse me, people get tripped up when they think, what do I want? What is the really big picture? In today's day and age, given COVID, we don't know where the next curveball is going to be coming at. I recommend doing maybe a 3-year plan or possibly a 5-year plan if you can gain that clarity. But it is pausing and getting thinking and actually scheduling time, which is one of the things that the one thing talks about, is actually scheduling the time, putting the boulder in the stream and letting everything else go around it so that you can gain clarity on what does fulfillment look like to you? What does a fulfilling life look like to you? What does success look like to you? Not what society or your parents or someone else is deeming success, but what does success look like for you? Putting that on your calendar and actually blocking time to, I call it T2, thinking time. Phenomenal thing to do, because if you don't, life gets in the way, right? I'll get to it tomorrow. I'll get to it next week. And who here has ever been so busy that they put something on the back burner for 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, 5 years? And they're wondering why they're struggling and floundering because they don't have clarity and they're not making choices in the moment choices with their in context to their longer term vision. So the first thing I would say is pause, schedule some thinking time. And here's another big tip, which I have found to be super helpful for my clients, is actually have 1 to 3 questions that you want to ask yourself. Because I have a client who was sitting down and scheduling thinking time, and then their mind would just wander. They couldn't think about what they really wanted. But have 1 or 2 questions that you want to ponder that starts the process, and then you can kind of get into the momentum of it.
Yeah. And as you're talking about that, right, that we just sort of push things off and it goes down the road for us. One of the things that comes to mind, and again, I'm going to be cliche here and I'm still going to say it anyway, is we always hear times are different now. If ever this was needed, it's now, right? And COVID is one of those, right? There's probably a number of events that come up that we say it's never been more important than now. But I'm still going to say that anyway right now, that I think there are a lot of people that are questioning, what do I really want? What do I want to do? I mean, we see some of the reports that come out called the great resignation of the number of people that are quitting their jobs, right? To me, this falls
Great
into that.
exodus.
And the other thing that I think about too with that is, I don't know if you've ever read, there was a book called The Five Regrets of the Dying.
Oh, I talk about that all the time. Bronnie Ware, who is a palliative care
Yeah.
nurse from Australia.
So to me, that's where this becomes such a valuable tool,
Mm-hmm.
right? Of those people who are saying, once it's too late, I wish I had done this. Here's an opportunity to put this into play now, which I think is so valuable. And the other thing that I know that we've talked about is around values, really looking at what your values are to help create that compass or direction.
Core values work is so important. And I think
Yeah.
it's one of those things that people feel like, it's not that big of a deal. Core values, what am I going to do? But with core values, when you really do the work and sit down, what is truly important to me? What is a non negotiable for me? When we are presented with an opportunity and we're just not sure what to do, when we can pause and say, is this in alignment with my core values? Is this in alignment with who I am at the core? We can then say, great opportunity, but it's actually a distraction.
Yeah.
It allows us to say no with more confidence and less apology. Right? I'd really love to, but we feel like we need to. But it allows us to establish the boundaries and gain clarity on, is this moving me closer to my goals or is it moving me further away? Because there's always a trade-off. When you're saying yes to one thing, you're saying no to something else, and your core values help guide you. I like to say your vision is where you're heading. Your values are how you get there.
Yeah. So it's interesting because I often, and we're going to talk about the GPS as it relates to the one thing. I think of values as that's our compass. That's my internal compass, is that whatever my value is, it's asking myself, is the decision I'm making right now in line with what my value is? Or am I sacrificing that? That's the way that I am able to stay on track. And as we go into the GPS as it relates to the one thing, right? We talk about goals, priorities, and strategies. I was wondering if you could maybe just touch on that quickly to help people understand how does that work?
I love the GPS because all of the work is just so important, but it is goals, priorities, and strategies, which helps you gain clarity, very important, focus. What is it that I'm focusing on now, and direction, right? So when we have that, we can be more efficient and effective. The beautiful thing that I love about the GPS is I've worked on it with a client who literally was mapping out one project that he has. You choose one goal that you want to accomplish, 3 priorities that are you're going to focus on that will drive the results that you want. Underneath the priorities, you create the strategies or actions. Where I find most of us fall down is we can say, this is what we want. We want to make more money. We want to have more clients. We want to lose weight. But when it's not stated in a smart form, specific, measurable, actionable, we don't know what to do. excuse me, I have a dry thing on my throat here. We're not quite sure what to do. So then we're like, I'm not sure, or maybe the project is too big. And that whole how do you eat an elephant kind of thing comes into play. So with a GPS, you can map it out and it's the strategy is actionable. I'm time blocking 20 hours each week to work out 5 days a week, right? And if it's assigned to you, like it might be checking the finances and then speaking with each manager every single month. So if it's assigned to you, you know specifically what it is. It is time bound. So it has to be done by a certain time.
Right.
There's an accountability that comes into play with that. So again, with a GPS, it can be for your business overall, and it has your team members in on each one of the strategies as a part of the SMART goals. Or maybe you're breaking down, I want to launch a new online program, and breaking the strategy down for one individual project. So it can be utilized in any different format but it is one goal. What are your top 3 priorities? What are those Pareto principle, the 20% that's going to drive 80% of the results? And what are the actions that you need to take? Who owns them? And when are they going to be done by? Really simple. And again, so many people dismiss that.
Yeah. And on top of that, and I know this may seem obvious, right, is that writing it down, right? How many of us, we don't write it down, and we know the research there that says that the likelihood of us following through on something that we don't write down is
I think you're like 40% more
I think that's the
likely
number that I
to
always hear
get
too.
into action when you write it down. I
Yeah.
mean, that alone, right? Just establishing your goals without even setting out the priorities and the strategies, you're ahead of the game.
Yeah. No, I know that for myself too. So then we move on from there to the 411, right? So we're really sort of building this system here, but very simply, right? So the 411 is
Excuse me, the 411 is 4 weeks, 1 month, 1 year. So you will take from, if you do a GPS, I don't necessarily have a GPS because I'm a solopreneur. So I'm not assigning all sorts of things to other people. Again, I could use it for a project. But then you would take, if you have assigned something to Bob, something to Sue, each person would then have their own what's called 411. So you have your annual goals. You have 1 to 5 goals that you're focusing on for the year. Everything you do is in context to driving those goals. So you've got your annual goals, and then what we'll do is break it out per month. So for the month of, let's say, September, in order to achieve and be on track to achieve my annual goals, here's what I need to be focusing on for the month. And if this is what I need to be focusing on for the month that's going to drive my annual goals, this is what I need to be focusing on this week. That will drive my monthly goals. That will drive my annual goals. I don't know about you, but it is really easy to get distracted. And what was it that I was working on? I've lost focus on this. And it's the 411 and the GPS. It's the Pareto. It's the success list. It's not your to-do list. It is the 20% of the activities that will drive 80% of your results. So when you're looking at the month and the week specifically, they should be SMART, specific, measurable, actionable, time-bound, all of that. They should each be in context to the longer term goal so that you know what you're working on. And it's only going to be those top 20%. It's not scheduling time for email. It's not, checking in with someone. They are the activities that drive you closer to your goals, not the whirlwind of the day.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
So you bring up an important point, and again, something that I know that I struggle with at times if I don't have that sort of space lined up. And we talk about time blocking, right? To make sure that the space for us to do these things is actually scheduled out.
Right.
Because I'm one of these that, again, shiny penny. I might start on something else if I didn't say, no, wait a minute. I've got to do this from 9 to 11. I'm set to be doing this right now. Not that. It's got to be this.
Exactly. Right. And it's pausing. And here's the thing is, if you find yourself doing something you shouldn't be doing, pause and redirect. Don't finish it. Just let it go. Right.
Yeah.
But with time blocking, it is a huge part of the one thing work. And it is that there are 3 things that basically they say that you should really time block. The first thing, everyone listen to this one, time block your time off first. You can always take it back, but how many here have not put a vacation on the calendar? It comes time around September or August, and you're like, I can't fit it in. I have too much on my calendar.
Yeah.
And you're letting your family down. You're letting your friends down. You're letting yourself down.
Lisa, on that one too,
Mhm.
right? Our financial advisor says, pay yourself first.
Mhm.
It's the same thing,
Same
right?
thing.
Pay yourself first.
Right?
So important.
When we feel better, we do better
Yeah.
physically, emotionally, and financially. So we need to nurture ourselves. We don't do our best when we're working 12 hours a day and hustling and grinding. You might be able to reach your goal, and you probably will if you really are hustling and grinding, but that's really cheating yourself out of what it means to live life. What we want to do is create a strategy that's going to get us there in a way that we can pause and enjoy life. Like you were saying with Bronnie Ware and the top regrets of the dying, the number one regret, I wished I had lived a life true to myself and not what others had expected of me. Number two regret, I wished I hadn't worked so hard.
Yeah.
And within there, I wished I had stayed better connected to my friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's huge stuff. I mean, simple, but
Simple. And here's where we get tripped up, Patrick, is it's simple, but simple doesn't equate to easy. I should be able to do this. I should be able to figure this out. I should be able to change my habit. Why am I continually doing something that I don't want to do, getting the results that I don't want to get, but I'm not able to shift the habit? Right? And it's habit. We are where we are. We're experiencing our success or lack thereof because of all the choices that we've made up to this point.
right. And we know that takes time.
Right? So it's going to take time. It took us time to get here. It takes us time to shift. Right? So have some compassionate curiosity for yourself. Wonder what it is that's getting in the way. Our beliefs drive our actions. Our actions drive our results. So if you're trying to shift a habit that you know is not healthy, whether it is a healthy bottom line, when maybe you're smoking or eating too much, or just in relationships that you know are not good for you, pause, right? And really look at what are my beliefs that are driving my behaviors. We have to look at the beliefs that are driving the behaviors before we can change that behavior. So if you are putting yourself on the back burner, to put a little caboose on this number one thing with time blocking, if you continue to put yourself on the back burner, right, look at what are your beliefs about what you deserve. If you continually doing something that is not benefiting you, why am I doing this? Again, we have to schedule thinking time to really gain clarity so that we can then start changing our behavior. The beautiful thing about shifting habits and shifting behaviors and putting ourselves first so that we can support our business and the ones that we love at a high level is to put the time on the calendar to think about it, pause about it. What is it that's going on for us?
Yeah. Huge.
Yeah.
So what else?
The second thing so time block your time off. The second thing is to time block your one thing. What are the priorities that you are focusing on today, this week, this month, this year? So for me, when I do my 411, I tend to do it in, excuse me, time blocking. Schedule 3 hours for, prospecting. Schedule 5 hours this week for follow-up. Schedule 10 hours this week for content creation. So some people love the color-coded calendar. In fact, mine is color-coded because I'm type A. But I'll be honest with you, I actually don't even really look at it too much anymore because I've been working with a 411. What I do is I know I need to schedule 10 hours for content creation, either Friday afternoon or Sunday afternoon. I don't like to do it Monday morning because I feel like I'm always behind the 8 ball when I do it Monday morning.
Yeah, I would agree.
I will sit down and say, all right, if it's 10 hours, where are my client calls? Where are my meetings that I cannot move around? And then I plug the time in there. I'm placing the boulder in the stream and letting everything go around it.
Yeah.
The thing with placing the boulder in the stream, you want to be focusing on your one thing in that moment. The one thing doesn't mean you're only focusing on one thing. It means When you have time blocked that one thing, you're saying no to the
Yeah.
distractions and you're saying yes to what it is that's going to drive the success that you're seeking. Again, whatever success is for you. So the first one is time blocking time off. The second time is time blocking your one thing for the week. What is it that I'm focusing on this week or the day? But start your day with intention, start your day with purpose.
You know, on that point, and we did this exercise, when you start to actually pull out the hours, right, of those things, there are times where I think you get ambitious, right? You think, oh, I'm going to do that. And all of a sudden I start adding up the hours. I'm like, wait a minute, I don't
Exactly.
have enough hours
Yeah,
to fit all this stuff in. And it's going back and saying, where is this stuff going to fit? And again, it's one of those that I think sounds so simple, so basic, but once you write it down and you start to see, okay, this is going to be, I'm saying I need 4 hours for this week and I need 6 hours for this. Where is this going to fit to make it real? And something's got to give.
exactly. I have to say, I've had clients who have done the same thing as you. I can fit all of this in, and then we map it out. We're like, all right, are you working 75 hours this
Yeah,
week?
exactly.
That's something you want to do. And
That
then,
was me. I'm like,
but
doesn't
it
work.
also allows you to pause and look at, well, no wonder I'm always exhausted. No wonder I feel like I'm just never succeeding at what I want to be succeeding at.
Yeah,
When we can take that meta view, watch the movie. Don't be in the movie. That's what the one thing will help you with.
yeah,
Is when we can take that meta view, we can be like, okay, this isn't going to fit in. So what is the 20% that's going to drive 80% of my results in the amount of time that I have allotted so that I can actually have a life? On the flip side of that, Patrick, I've also worked with clients who have had a hard time getting into action. But when we map it out and say, okay, it's 20 hours this month for this, 5 hours for this, whatever, we map it out and we divide it by 4 weeks. So like, oh, that's doable.
right.
So it
And it's so true.
motivates them, right? So it really motivates them to get into action because they just they didn't have clarity, focus, and direction. They're like,
Yeah,
I'm not really sure. And that stops them.
yeah. So we have one more area, right,
We have
for
one more area,
blocking.
time blocking your planning time, right? So like I said, on Fridays, I love to do mine on Fridays. If I don't get to it, I will do it Sunday afternoon. And I actually enjoy doing it. So it's not a big drag. And it is looking at, if these are my annual goals, these are my monthly goals, what am I focusing on this week so that I can be successful, so that I can feel successful. And that's really important when we're always feeling behind the eight ball, when we're always feeling like never enough. I mean, that is a phrase I hear from people all the time. There's just never enough time. There's never enough money. There's never enough support.
Yeah,
Whatever it is, we have to carve out the time in order to make that happen. And the planning time is imperative. So you're not starting the week and then on Wednesday you're like, wait a minute, what am I supposed to be focusing on? You gain so much more time back. And here's the thing, um, uh, multitasking costs us, on average, study after study, 1.4 days per week.
yeah,
1.4 days.
yeah. I mean, I haven't heard those statistics other than to know that a lot of research suggesting that we can't multitask. We're binary. It's either one thing switching on or one thing switching off, and we're just not as effective.
Right. So when you know what you're focusing on, you're setting the boulder in the river, you're focusing on your one thing, and you're saying no to the distractions, you are gaining back 1.4 days per week. What do you want to do with that time?
Yeah.
You know?
You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of the quote by Abraham Lincoln said, if I had 6 hours, something along these lines, right? If I had 6 hours to chop down a tree, I'd spend 4 hours sharpening the saw
I just heard
or
that
the
quote
axe.
this morning in my BNI meeting. I was like,
Uh,
it's such a great
oh,
quote.
really?
Yeah, that's
There you
funny.
go. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Um,
those are the three main things. And again, the simplicity of it allows people to dismiss it. But the clients that I've worked with who have implemented it and come back every week and go, okay, so this is what I'm focusing on this week. And then looking at their upcoming week and planning. But here's the thing I also want to say, what I love about this: when we go on vacation, we're like, oh, I've got all month to get this done. And then when you get to the week before, you're like, ooh, I actually only have 3 weeks. I don't have 4 weeks to finish this project. And I need to get my slides in for that speaking gig that I've got coming up at the beginning of September. You can take that meta view and really map things out and know specifically, or maybe like I know you are big into working out and you want to work out X amount of hours or X amount of times per month. Great. Where else are you going to fit in the extra workouts to meet your monthly goal, to meet your annual goal?
Yeah. So for me, behind me is my, and I showed it to you, is my calendar, my 4-month calendar. And for me, what's worked is I literally have different colors in terms of what I will mark off for, whether it's exercise or whether it's writing or whether it's prospecting. And to me, the simplicity of this is that the scoreboard doesn't lie. I can't think
Yes.
that I've gone through the whole week of being busy and doing these things, and all of a sudden I look and there's a lot of empty space on the calendar, because I know that I haven't done it, and I need to step it up to get it done.
Right. Not everything matters equally, yet we
Yeah,
go through our days acting like it does, putting out fires that aren't even ours to put out.
yeah,
Right. And then wondering why we're not more profitable, we're not
yeah,
more successful, that we are continually working every Saturday and now it's creeping into Sundays.
yeah. Such a great conversation here. Anything that I haven't asked or we haven't talked about, you think would still be valuable for somebody to know about the one thing?
Well, as far as the one thing goes, the big takeaway is when you are focusing on your one thing, focus on that. My big, and I said this in the beginning, my big thing is pause. There's a great quote by Viktor Frankl, and it says, between stimulus and response, there is a space.
Yeah,
In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. If you want to start shifting up your results, if you want to start casting a vote for the type of person who, right, is successful, does what I need to do, we need to pause. We need to gain clarity. We need to be clear that the actions that we're taking today are creating our future, right? Our habits create our future, period.
yeah.
They create our success. So pause and
Which is
really look.
counterintuitive for people, right? The thought that I've got to slow down to move ahead. It's counterintuitive for people.
It is very counterintuitive. I kind of like to say it's like archery. You have to stop, pause, step back, aim, and go forward. If how do you how do you know the steps you need to take to achieve the life you want to live if you don't have a North Star that you're directing towards? And that is
Yeah,
the most important thing. So my big thing is pause and be curious and show yourself some graceful accountability as you're moving forward, because you've done certain things for such a period of time. It's the lens through which we see and experience life. So we're not even seeing what we're doing. We're not even recognizing it. So graceful accountability is this: when you recognize that you're doing something that you don't want to be doing, don't beat yourself up. Don't let yourself off the hook. Pause, gain clarity, and move forward from there.
love that. If somebody wanted to reach out to you and learn more about the one thing, what's the best way for them to do that?
Oh, thanks, Patrick. I appreciate you asking. They can reach out to shoot me an email at lisadanforth.com, or
Okay.
private message me or send me a message on LinkedIn. More than happy to connect and share anything about it, because it has been life-changing for me and life-changing for my clients.
Yeah, it's a great system, and I'm so thankful that we've been able to work together. I had read the book a number of years ago and never really implemented it, and you've sort of brought it back to life for me, and it's a great process. So thank you for that.
Thank you for the opportunity. I'm always happy to talk about it.
Awesome.
All
Have
right.
a great day. Enjoy.
Thanks, Patrick. Take
Thanks,
care.
everybody.